Good evening, students. This is pharmacology for basic nursing second year students, and here I am going to deal with the chapter gastrointestinal system. It is the second part. So the further drugs used in the gastrointestinal system are the mucosal drugs, then prostaglandin analog, for which the examples can be misoprostol or cytotec, and the anti-muscarinic drug can be the pyrazine. Antimicrobial agent, which is also called as anti-helicopylori drug, can be the metronidazole and tetracycline. So we have seen the examples. Prostaglandin analog, the drug can be the misoprostol, cytotec also is called, then anticholinergic or anti-muscarinic. Example can be the pyrazine, and antimicrobial agent or anti-helicopylori drug. The example can be the metronidazole or tetracycline. So let's discuss up to here. We are discussing about the mucosal protective agent. The mucosal protective agent is a salt of sucrose complex to sulfated aluminium hydroxide. It is the salt of sucrose complexed to sulfated aluminium hydroxide. Means the sucrose salt, when it is complexed to sulfate ammonium hydroxide, then these are formed. In acidic pH, it polymerizes to viscous gel that adheres to ulcer crater. Means the main function of it is, in acidic pH, it polymerizes to the viscous gel, which is sticking to the ulcer crater. It is taken empty stomach 1 hour before meals, and concurrent anti-acid H2 receptor antagonists are avoided. In this, the H2 receptor antagonists are avoided, and it's a salt of sucrose complexed to sulfated aluminium hydroxide. So if due to aluminium hydroxide any problem arises, then this salt of sucrose mucosal protective agent is taken. The type 1 example can be the tripotassium diketobismuth. Then the next one is the prostaglandin analog, which I already talked. Prostaglandin E inhibit gastric acid secretion. All these drugs will inhibit only the gastric acid secretion, and it will increase the mucus and bicarbonate secretion, mucosal blood flow, and perhaps the mucosal means all are mucosal things. Prostaglandin E will do mucosal things. It will increase the mucus and bicarbonate secretion, mucosal blood flow will be increased, and perhaps mucosal repair will be also done by the prostaglandin only. So the drug which can be used are the misoprostol, which is also called as cytotec. What does it do? It blocks the secretion of excess acid. If there is produced, it will block the secretion and promote stomach mucosa in those with the use of chronic NSAIDs. If anyone has used chronic non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, so it will relieve in the stomach mucosa if it has been used due to NSAIDs, infected due to NSAIDs. Then it is used in duodenal and peptic ulcer caused by NSAIDs. Means if the NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, causes the peptic or duodenal ulcers, then also the misoprostol will help in that. Then usually added to an NSAIDs to decrease the negative GI effect. Means prostaglandin analog which helps in mucus protection and mucus increase inhibition of gastric secretion, mucosal repair. This will only block the secretion of excessive acid and will protect the stomach mucosa or mucus mucosal repair, where due to NSAIDs, the ulcers are caused in the stomach area, that is the duodenal and peptic ulcer. All the negative effects of GI due to use of NSAIDs will be also decreased by the misoprostol. So mechanism of action will be, misoprostol is a synthetic prostaglandin analog that replaces the protective prostaglandin consumed with prostaglandin inhibitor therapies like NSAIDs to induce the uterine contraction. Indication can be the prevention of NSAIDs induced gastric birth. Now, the second one is anticholinergic for antimuscarinic. Anticholinergic for antimuscarinic, it is commonly used now, but it's a newer drugs which are on draw. It relieves, what does it do? It relieves pain by decreasing GI motility and secretion. If the acidic secretion is decreased and GI motility is decreased, then it will help in relieving pain, decreasing the motility of GI and secretion. So anticholinergic and antimuscarinic are same here. What are the mechanism of action and how drug coming in it? I already told that was the pyridoxine. So the mechanism of action will be, pyridoxine is a muscarinic receptor antagonist. So it is a muscarinic receptor, already we said, and binds to the muscarinic acetylcholine. What happens? How does it do? That mechanism is explained. It binds to the muscarinic acetylcholine receptor. Then this muscarinic acetylcholine receptor mediates various cellular responses. It will cause various cellular responses, which will include the inhibition of aldehyde, adenylate cyclase, and breakdown of phosphone cytate, and modulation of potassium channel through action of G protein. So again, let's see. Its mechanism of action will be, it will reduce pain by increasing GI motility and secretion, and blockage of muscarinic receptor will be caused. So it will act as a muscarinic receptor only, and it will affect the secretory function, and it will bind to the muscarinic acetylcholine receptor, and this will induce various cellular response, which will cause the inhibition of adenylate cyclase, breakdown of phosphonic cytidase, modulation of potassium channel, reduction of G protein. The indication can be lately injuries, cramps, or muscarinic, so related to muscle only. So it will relieve the cramps, spasms of the stomach, intestine, bladder, duodenal, stomach ulcer, or intestinal problem. It can be used together with antacid and medicines. Side effects can be blood vision, drowsiness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, dry mouth, confusion, difficulty urinating, chest pain. Now the second we are going to talk about is the antimicrobial agent or anti-helicobacter pylori drugs that I already talked about. So antimicrobial agent or anti-helicobacter pylori drugs, what does it do? The hepatic pylori is an organism which lives already in the stomach, and the infection with hepatic pylori is associated with the gastroduodenal disease. So if there is a hepatic pylori already lives in the stomach, so the infection with H. pylori is associated with the gastroduodenal disease, so it will cause the gastroduodenal disease, and it will increase the gastritis and peptic ulcer. So through this line we came to know that the gastroduodenal disease include the gastritis and peptic ulcer. It is also responsible for recurrence of peptic ulcer disease, and is considered as a major risk factor for stomach cancer. Okay, antimicrobial agents, if causes the reoccurrence of peptic ulcer disease, so it may be considered as a major risk factor for the stomach cancer. So we must remember the antimicrobial agent, that is the anti-Helicobacter pylori drugs can cause the occurrence of peptic ulcer, causing the major risk for stomach cancer. Eradication of hepatic pylori along with drugs that reduce acid segregation has to show to reduce the relapse rate. Various combination of regimen are tried with clarithromycin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, metronidazole, omeprazole, and H2 blocker, receptor blocker for 1 to 2 weeks. So it can be given in combination with the drugs like clarithromycin, amoxicillin in order to avoid the blockers, in order to avoid the relapse rate. Here we can see some example: antimicrobial agent or anti-Helicobacter drugs, the amoxicillin, clarithromycin, tetracycline, and metronidazole. These all are antimicrobial also and antibiotic also. So amoxicillin inhibits the bacterial cell wall synthesis by binding to one hormone of the penicillin binding protein, inhibiting the cell wall biosynthesis. Already we have done. Clarithromycin exerts its antibacterial action by binding to the 50S subunit, resulting in inhibition of protein synthesis. Tetracycline inhibits the protein synthesis because it combines with the tRNA to inhibit the protein synthesis. Then metronidazole inhibits nucleic acid synthesis by disrupting the DNA of microbial cells. Then we are going to talk about the emetics and antiemetics. So let's see what are they and the drugs. Here we can see the emetics. These are classified as centrally acting and centrally and peripherally acting. The emetics which are centrally acting are apomorphine and morphine, and centrally and peripherally acting are ipecacuanha. So centrally acting and peripherally acting apomorphine or morphine and ipecacuanha. Let's see what are emetics and what are these drugs. Then anti-emetic drugs are ondansetron and doperidone. These are just opposite of the emetics. And antidiarrheal drugs are classified as adsorbent, anti-secretory, and anti-motility drugs. Adsorbent drugs are isafadla or xylem husk, anti-secretory sulfasalazine, then anti-motility drugs codeine. Emetics. So emesis is the process. The emesis is a protective mechanism which serves to eliminate the harmful substances from the stomach and duodenum. What does it do? It is a protective mechanism process which serves to eliminate the harmful substance. It will pour out the harmful substance, eliminate out the harmful substance from the stomach and duodenum as well. It occurs because of the stimulation of emetic center situated in the medulla oblongata. It occurs due to the emetic center is situated in the medulla oblongata. There it can stimulate and then causes. There are multiple pathways which can elicit vomiting. Multiple pathways are there which can elicit vomiting. Chemoreceptors trigger zone like CTZ and antius nucleus tractor solitary are the most important relay stations for heparin pulses of GIT. Gastrointestinal tract, throat, and other glands. Let's see the two classifications are the centrally acting and centrally and peripherally acting. Centrally acting morphine and morphine, and centrally and peripherally acting ipecacuanha. How we can say these are centrally acting? Because pathways will decide how they act. As the trigger zone are CTZ and nucleus tractor solitary where they are situated, and from there the impulses are coming. These will do the action like that only. Centrally acting morphine and morphine stimulate the postsynaptic D2 receptor within the caudate putamen in brain. Means if there is some actions in the brain, so postsynaptic D2 type receptors are stimulated with caudate putamen in the brain, and if it is epicohana, which is centrally and peripherally acting, so it will irritate the gastric mucosa and through chemoreceptor triggered zone. Now let's see one drug in detail. This is apomorphine. Apomorphine is a semi-synthetic derivative of morphine, and it causes vomiting in 15 minutes, and vomiting is often accompanied by sedation. It should not be used if respiration is depressed. Large doses of it can produce restlessness, tremors, and occasionally convulsions also. Sometimes it can cause hypertension, syncope, and coma also. Indication: treatment of hypomobility of GIP associated with episodes of Parkinson disease. So apomorphine is a morphine derivative only and help in reducing the vomiting. It can be explained by sedation only. Contraindication can be the if the respiration is distressed or hypersensitivity to apomorphine. Then epicohana disease. Epicohana, that is centrally and peripherally acting. It is derived from the dried root of Cichali Cyphecohana, which contains emetine. It is used for inducing vomiting. Means the mechanism of action is mainly vomiting and used as syrup only. Epicac. It is safer to use other than the other emetics, which does irritate gastric mucosa and also the CTZ. Already I explained at the back how they act. They irritate the gastric mucosa and CTZ, and centrally acting will do the postsynaptic. They will only be related with the brain only, that is a caudate putamen G2 type receptor. Then antiemetic. Antiemetic is a drug effective against vomiting and nausea. It is a drug which is effective against vomiting and nausea, and these drugs are typically used to treat the motion sickness. Mostly antiemetic. If emetic there, so there is more fluid deposition is there, and it causes excessive vomiting, then it can be controlled by antiemetics. So antiemetics are the drugs which is effective against nausea and vomiting. These drugs are typically used to treat the motion sickness and side effects of some opioid-analgesics and chemotherapy directed against cancer. Antiemetics act by inhibiting the receptor sites associated with emesis. What does it do? It inhibit the receptor sites which are associated with emesis, and sometimes it suggests to suppress the nausea and vomiting. In severe conditions, dehydration can develop. Intravenous fluid may be administered to replace the fluid volume deficit. The antiemetic example can be the ondansetron, already I told. So ondansetron, it's a prevention of chemotherapy-induced emesis. If due to chemotherapy-induced emesis occurs between 4 to 11 year children, then what happens? Ondansetron is given 4 mg 30 minutes before just therapy. Repeat 4 to 8 hours after initial dose, and then 4 mg every 8 hours for 1 to 2 days if the chemotherapy is completed. Then antidiarrheal drugs, I already told. The antidiarrheal drugs are the group of the drugs which are used to relieve the symptoms of diarrhea and effects, but do not cure the problem. They will only do the reducing of the symptoms of diarrhea, but do not cure the problem. These are adsorbent, anti-secretory, and anti-motility. Adsorbent are Isofagula, Psyllium, Uses irritated bowel syndrome, colostomy, diarrhea. Antisecretaries are the sulfasalazine, mesalazine, sulfasalazine. This will use in ulcerative colitis, antisecretory, acute secretory diarrhea. Then antimotility are codeine. These are used in non-infective or mild traveler's diarrhea or idiopathic diarrhea in after surgery also, colostomy also. Let's see about them. Adsorbents are the colloidal bulk forming substances which absorb water and swells up. So these are the colloidal bulk forming substances. Once they are given when they will absorb the bulk and will form the acid type substance, swells up. They modify consistency and frequency of stool. The main function is that they will give the consistency or consistency will be there and frequency of stool will be increased. It will be modified, means will be okay, and give an impression of improvement, but does not reduce the water and electrolyte loss. They will not reduce it. For that IV fluid should be given. For example, psyllium husk. It's a regular psyllium husk. Psyllium husk is white fibrous material derived from the psyllium seed. It is a white material which is derived from the psyllium seed, and it is an effective product with varieties of uses in pharmaceutical, cosmetics and products industries. It consists of the epidermis and collapsed adjacent layers removed from the dried rice seeds of the plant of ovate. It acts as a demiculent cooling laxative. Its most white fibrous material, and its most important factor is food cooling laxative, mild purgative and natural lubricant. It is a natural lubricant only, and purgative also, and cooling laxative. Let's see the mechanism of action. Psyllium contains up to 70% of soluble and 30% of insoluble fibers only. When psyllium husk is mixed with water or other liquid like juice, it forms gel-like gelatinous mass. It moves down the digestive organ, soaking up toxins and harmful residues. It flushes out the toxins of the body through stools. Then soluble fibers content of the psyllium husk has the ability to bind with the bile juice, an important player in digestion of fats found in our body and from cholesterol. This process lowers the circulatory blood cholesterol by excretion of those fats. Mostly what happens, they have fibers, so when they are mixed with water or little juice, then they will form a gelatinous mass only. And then when they go to the digestive organ, they will soak up the toxin and the harmful residues only, and it will flush out to the stools. The main function is this only. And if we talk about the soluble form, they will have the ability to bind with the bile acid. Then antisecretory, that's sulfasalazine. Sulfasalazine, what happens? The mechanism of action is it acts locally in the colon. Mainly the action is antisecretory in the colon to decrease the inflammatory response and systematically interfere with the secretion by inhibiting prostaglandin synthesis. And they will act in the colon only to decrease the inflammatory response and interfere with the prostaglandin synthesis. Now we'll see about purgatives and fluid and electrolytes. So let's see. Taking a long time. Purgatives. Purgatives are classified as bulk laxative, that is bran or agar, fecal softeners like liquid paraffin, osmotic purgatives and stimulant purgatives like castor oil, osmotic purgatives like magnesium sulfate, magnesium hydroxide, and bulk laxative already told bran or agar. Then fecal softeners like liquid paraffin. And fluid and electrolyte, it is classified into three: isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. Isotonic fluid, normal saline and lactate trivial solution. Hypotonic, normal saline with 2.5% dextrose. Hypertonic fluid, 5% of dextrose will be there in normal saline or lactate trivial solution. In hypotonic, 2.5% will be there. Let's see about the purgative. Purgatives are the drugs that promote defecation or passage of stool. Means that will help. Purgative, xylem was also a purgative only. That will help in the consistency of or defecation of passage of stool in food. They are also called as laxative and cathartic. They can also be called as laxative or cathartic. Laxatives have milder actions, while cathartics or purgatives have more powerful drugs. So laxatives cause production of soft form stool over 1 or more days, and purgatives are responsible for rapid intense fluid evacuation of the bowel. I have already told the classification. Bulk laxative are the bran and agar example. Fecal softener are the liquid paraffin. Then osmotic purgatives I told about the magnesium hydroxide, and stimulant purgative I told about the castor oil and cinnamon. Mechanism of action, like C. The bulk laxative increase the stool bulk and stimulate the peristalsis. Fecal softener reduces the surface tension of the oil-water interface of the stool, resulting in enhanced incorporation of water and scent, allowing the stool softening. The surface tension will be of the oil-water interface will be reduced, and water and fat will be added in the stool softening. Then osmotic purgative acts by retaining fluid in the bowel by an osmotic effect. When fluid in the bowel is retained by osmotic effect, and they may act mainly in the small bowel, lactulose, and also the colonic pH, thereby creating large bowel. Then a stimulant purgative intestinal motility and act as a results because abdominal cramp. Then fluid and electrolytes we'll talk about. So these are mainly the three types: isotonic, hypotonic, hypertonic. So the isotonic electrolyte content can be 310 ml milliequivalent per liter. Hypotonic electrolyte content less than 250 milliequivalent per liter. Then hypertonic electrolyte will be greater than 375 milliequivalent per liter, or it can be equal to 300 milliliters. So isotonic are what? Let's see. Isotonic fluids. The isotonic fluids are isotonic to human cells or have same osmolarity as that of the body fluid. Means they will have same osmolarity and very much little osmosis will be there, which will affect the size of RBC. Otherwise, they may not do that. Examples can be normal saline and which is used in hyponatremia, and lactate single solution which contains potassium, sodium, and calcium chloride. So it will help in correct the acidosis, dehydration, etc. Hypertension and cardiac failure patients should not use their isotonic fluid. Then hypertonic fluid replaces the cellular fluid because they are hypotonic as compared to plasma. They will replace the cellular fluid. When a solution has lower concentration of solute than solution, then it is known as hypertonic solution. Means a solution which will have lower concentration of solute, then that will be called as hypotonic solution. So what happens? They have lower osmolarity than the body fluid. The example can be 2.5% dextrose solution in normal saline. Hypertonic fluids are solutions which have higher concentration of solute than another solution is known as a hypertonic solution. 5% dextrose in normal saline or lactate in the solution or in hypertonic solution can be used in this. So, thank you class.